Okay, Bruce, if you don't mind, we can get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this presentation. We are very honored to have Professor Bruce Anderson from University of Regina. He will be lecturing for us today. And first of all, I would like to thank the master program in the University of Guanajuato. Dr. Agustin Ruiz Lanuza has been very supportive also to help us to coordinate these events. So we thank the Professor Lanuza. And also we welcome the students from the International Student Strategies Business Development course, since that was the original idea to include in this kind of international courses the lectures from guest speakers. And also to the Emprendimiento Desea, the entrepreneurship area for our School of Businesses, that also is hosting this event and also providing for all the students general credits, that we call units of participation. Let me introduce Professor Bruce Anderson. He has experience for over 50 years in senior management and executive roles. Professor Anderson became an entrepreneur for the past 20 years. He has launched and operated 3 businesses and continues to serve as a managing partner of B Creative Group, a consulting and design firm. He also teaches undergraduate and graduate strategy, entrepreneurship, and consulting classes at the University of Regina in Canada. Professor Anderson is currently chair of Habitat for Humanity Saskatchewan and is a director with the Canadian Automobile Association Saskatchewan. He is past chair for both the Regina and the Saskatchewan Chambers of Commerce and is a past director with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Professor Anderson also mentors new entrepreneurs. He has a bachelor's degree in commerce in sports administration and an MBA. He also has the designation of Certified Management Consultant, CMC, and Institute of Chartered Directors designation. He has the honorary designations of Fellow, FCMC, and Academic Fellow, CMC Global. And more than anything in this profile, in this bio, Professor Bruce Anderson has become a very great supporter of Universidad de Guanajuato, since the relationship with the University of Regina started with Professor Wallace Lockhart. So we send him a very warm regards from here because he was the connection. But immediately, Professor Anderson, as we go together, he decided to be a key element in the collaboration between our universities. So thank you very much, Professor Bruce Anderson, for being here. And I will pass the floor to you. And thank you for your presentation.
Great. Buenos días. Hola, estudiante. Mi nombre es Bruce. Soy de Canadá. Nosotros hablamos de valor. Ahora hablo inglés. So let me start. I'm going to share my screen with this. Oops. Sorry. Martin, you can see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So today I want to talk to you about an important topic about creating value. And we use the term value, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I do want to acknowledge the unique partnership with the 2 universities and my friendship with Martin and others that are coming. So with that, this is really the intent that we wanted to do today. We wanted to talk about how is value created and how does it fit into the business model. The slides, the PowerPoint that I have sent to Martin, and he will make those available afterwards if people would like those. So what is the concept of value? Maybe quickly I could have people before I go through too much of that, maybe I could have quickly people send through the chat, and I thank you for sending your names and locations that you're with, programs you're with. Maybe people could send quickly in the chat just what they think value is.
I think it is a quality.
A quality, Eduardo.
A quality you assign for something according to your actual values or your education or your morals.
Eduardo, who determines that quality?
Myself or
Good. I like that. Yeah.
or certain group. It depends of the context. Maybe an organization can make a value for something, and maybe another organization give the meaning to that something, but differently.
I think you've said it well. Thank you. Let me, a differentiation. Okay. Great. What do you have to offer your stakeholders? Okay. I like that, Daniela. Oh, wow. You folks have really understood the academic part of this. Is great. The way you appreciate it. I really like the way you said that. That's really important. So thanks, Diane. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to the next slide and talk to you about value. So value, sort of Diana's point there, value is determined by the customer. You determine what value you get from the organization. There's a couple things I'm going to focus on here. One is the interesting idea of a product is really a job that you offer a customer. And so the customer hires your product, and if they don't like your product, they fire your product. And so when you think about it in those terms, when you hire it, I expect certain things will be done for me. And if you don't do those things for me, I'm going to find another product. Show of hands, use the hand icon on your screen. Does that make sense to you? Hands up.
Yes, we have it.
Perfect. I'm seeing some of thanks to Sophia and Diego. So companies really should focus on the jobs that they do, and that's going to be really one of the key messages I'll give today. And they shouldn't just focus on products. And some of you have heard of this company, a very small company called Revlon, makes lots of cosmetics. Look at the quote from the founder of Revlon. In the factory, we make cosmetics. In the drugstore, we sell hope. That's the value. I don't know if hope is the value. I mean, I don't necessarily agree completely with the hope part of it, but I do understand that just the transaction of making a product is not what the customer values. So when we look at the value proposition, we have to understand what customers are we serving, and how do we serve them? How do we get to those customers? What channels do we use? What needs are being met? Which products? What features? What services? And the benefits that are attached to those. Customers do not buy features. Features of a product, the fact that your phone turns on and does something like that, that's a feature. That's a fact of the way the product operates. What a person buys is the benefit from that product. Does it allow me to be connected to other people? Does it allow me to do something faster, cheaper? And then what is the price that I sort of in that value proposition? So when you think of the the most common value propositions that we deal with. One is best quality. Think of Stradivarius, the very famous and expensive violin. Think of value in what IKEA does. Think of luxury and the desire, the aspiration, or the goal of being successful, and what Rolex provides in a brand. Think of how can I do without a Google browser? How could I do without even my phone? So these are things that we think about in the value propositions that we're talking about. So this chart may be hard to read, and it'll be available to you afterwards, but it really, and many of you that have taken Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you recall that? And so the Maslow has the hierarchy of needs, and as a person meets their needs, they get to self-actualization. Well, in this case, there's 4 levels of needs that are proposed, and one is the basic functional level. So if you provide a way to save time or simplify or reduce cost, if you, in an emotional context, if you provide a way to reduce anxiety, if you provide, so for example, Netflix, if you go onto Netflix, it provides old movies to you, so it's a nostalgia. If you go on to, maybe you have life motivation like the Peloton, the big exercise company that became very well known during the pandemic. Well, the motivation aspect of the group training together was life-changing for some. And then the social impact is what, how does it allow me to achieve my ultimate goals? And so the more of the elements, you can't do all of these elements, but the more of the elements the company can provide to the consumer, the more likely they're going to be loyal to your product, and the higher the company's sustained growth. So if we take a company like, let's say we take a company like Google. What does Google do? When you look at these little icons that are here, what does Google provide to its customers in terms of these needs? What does it do? And you can use the chat if you like to do that. Well, I'm going to start off. I'm going to say Google saves you time. If you use a search engine that allows you to get millions and millions of pieces of information together, as opposed to, let's say, going to a library and trying to sort those individual pieces, it gives you that. So it simplifies your life. Other ones? Organizes, I like that. So it provides that material. In that material, it gives you a place to access. Great. All in one, yes. So it really provides one place to do all of those things. Connects. So you can see that the more that that Google does of this, the more the platform is going to be attractive to you as a consumer. And that's my point here. So thank you for that. And I'm going to exit right now here. Oh, the next one. And I'm going to see if this YouTube works from here. I don't think it's going to. Let me bring up the YouTube video here. Oh, sorry. I'm doing the wrong thing here.
Every day, companies design products and services to improve their customers' lives. 72% of new product and service innovations fail to deliver on expectations. This means that customers don't care about 7
Are you seeing this?
products introduced to the market.
Yes, Bruce.
Thanks.
Just like you create value for your business with a business model canvas, there is in fact a tool to intentionally visualize, design, and test how you create value for customers. Called the value proposition canvas. The value proposition canvas is composed of two parts, the customer profile and the value map. With the customer profile, you describe the jobs your customer is trying to get done. Jobs can be functional, like getting from A to B, social, like impressing friends and colleagues, or emotional, like gaining mind. You highlight your customer's pains, which annoy customers while trying to get a job done. Pains are negative outcomes that customers hope to avoid, like dissatisfaction with solutions and challenges, frustration, risks, or obstacles related to performing the job. Then you outline customer gains, which describe how customers measure the success of the job well done. Gains are positive outcomes that customers hope to achieve, like concrete results, benefits, and even aspirations. With the customer profile to visualize, test, and track your understanding of the people or companies you intend to create for. It's a map that becomes clearer the more you learn from the customer. The second part of the canvas is the value map. With it, you list the products and services your value proposition builds on. You describe in which way these products, services, and features are pain relievers, how they eliminate, reduce, or minimize pain customers care about, making their lives easier. And you outline in which way they are gain creators, how they produce, increase, or maximize outcomes and benefits that your customers expect, desire, or would be surprised by. The value map makes explicit how your products and services relieve pains and create gains. Use it to design, test, and iterate your value proposition until you figure out what resonates with customers. You achieve fit by creating a clear connection between what matters to customers and how your products, services, and features ease pains and create gains. Great value propositions target essential customer jobs, pains, and gains, and do so extremely well. Your customer profile may contain countless jobs, pains, and gains, but your value map highlights which ones you intend to focus on. Don't forget, an outstanding value proposition can still fail if your business model is flawed. Successful companies embed outstanding value propositions in scalable and profitable businesses. Use the value proposition canvas to create products and services that customers want. Get started at strategizer.com.
So I'm going to bring this back to, so I hope that the Spanish translation at the bottom helped with that. This piece that I'm going into now is the value proposition canvas. This was invented or created by Osterwalder and Pigner to basically academics that looked at how could we translate some of this into an easier to adapt form template that we could use to make this. And so if you look at the right side, again, I've tried to find a Spanish translation for you. You look at the right side, it's the customer. The circle is the customer. It's what the customer wants. We used the term jobs earlier, and we'll come back to that a little bit more, and the gains. And so when we look at this, all of you have a telephone, a mobile phone. So my question, just show of hands, how many people using that, the reaction icon, the hand, how many people have a separate camera besides their phone? So just use that reaction button. Perfect. So the question is, how many of you still use your camera very often? And I would suggest that as the quality of the images on your phone become better, you're probably using your camera less. So one of the pains that the customer had was, I had to bring my camera, I have to bring my phone, I have to have two devices. And so the phone integrates those devices together and it solves. And one of the gains that might have happened in having a phone is you bought it for the camera, the communication, the fact you can get phone calls and emails, but maybe you didn't understand that you could also do some of your social media on here. So that was a gain that you didn't expect. So customers, just mute your microphones if you would, thank you. But customers would have jobs, and so the jobs I might have during the day is I need a calendar. I have to organize myself. I have to communicate with people. I have classes to run. I have.
Bruce, we cannot hear you. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try. Yeah,
That's
there you
okay. I think you muted me too. Don't, Martine, don't show my wife that button.
go. Okay.
So on the left side is it the company perspective, the square, is the company's perspective of the value proposition, and it takes the customer's perspective and translate it into what can we do to serve that customer. So let's go through this a little bit more in detail. So the one on the right, the customer jobs, this describes things the customer wants done. And these are things beyond just the use of your phone or beyond just Google. So for example, if you have a functional need that you have of something, maybe the phone can be adapted or the product can be adapted to serve that need. And so you're seeing phones that have the ability to charge by sitting onto a pad, for example, and eliminate those pieces. So the gain perhaps is that, hey, my phone doesn't have to plug into the wall anymore. It can be charged on a charging pad or something like that. And so it's an extra functional that as part of my job, I have to carry around to connect my charger. So social, there's no question that some people enjoy the connection. I use I'm a former BlackBerry user. I know it's a confession. It was a Canadian product. And this would take a whole other class to talk about how badly they did. And they got their market share got taken over by Apple and by Samsung. And I use a Samsung now. But perhaps the Apple phone gives me the best social part. I can connect to my other products. Maybe there's a security, emotional piece attached to the way I use my phone and some of the other pieces. For example, maybe it has an alarm setting that is useful to me, or it has something else that helps me organize myself. And then it helps that I can take the phone, I can transfer this value, I can sell this phone to somebody else. So I can transfer its value. Perhaps other people can be involved in creating apps that might use for the phone. So these are supporting jobs that the customer has. And so the important part of the value proposition is to understand everything from a customer perspective. Let's carry on. So here's some of the supporting jobs. These slides I will be available to you afterwards. I won't go through all of these. And so you're saying, muchas gracias, I understand. So the job context, we define which jobs are more important than others as part of our process. The pains, when entrepreneurs talk about serving customers, the question is, what pain does the product or service solve? And if you don't have a pain, like if it's something, if somebody just wants the product, I'd like to own a Ferrari. Do I need a Ferrari? No. Do I have a pain to have the Ferrari? No, I don't. And so I have a need for transportation, and I use a car to do that. So the want, it's a difference between a want and a need, and the need is really articulated in that pain that we solve for the customer. So what is it that caused the problem? So Apple users and iPhone users find that their phone does connectivity between perhaps their laptop or their iPad, perhaps when they used to have the iTunes application, it used to do that. So these were factors that annoyed the customer in the way they did it. And so when we can reduce these barriers to the customer using the product. So a pain is something that if we offer a product and the product makes us unsafe, or the product makes us, we can't figure out how to use the product has actually created a pain for us, and that creates risk that our product will not be used. So there's a program called, it was called a POM, and it was a small device about the size of a business card or so, much smaller than a phone. And it was designed so that you didn't have to use your phone all the time. In fact, it was designed so that you couldn't have all the functions that you needed on your phone. You still had to buy a $500 phone, but now the POM required you to buy a $300 POM. You still had to have the phone, so now you're $800 to get. And this little POM meant that it was harder to get emails. And one of the purposes that this POM had was to reduce the need to use your phone, to create more of a balance, work and life balance. Well, people looked at it and said, why would I buy a small product like this that doesn't do everything I need to, and I still need the phone? And so that product has not done well. And it simply meant that the product created more problems for customers than it solved. So the gains are those unexpected things that we have. Sometimes the gains are something that we expect. I must be able to use my phone to make a call. I must be able to use it to get email. But maybe on the phone, I keep on the phone, I use a program on here, and I keep track of the wine that I enjoy, or the restaurant meal that I like, the recipe I like. I keep track of that on the phone. So this is a gain for me, is it provides that application, that tool that allows me to do that. And if you look at the apps that are available to you, those are examples of maybe unexpected gains that you get from your phone and the use of your phone. And perhaps there's in the future, or maybe you have a phone that does other features. Perhaps it handles, turns on all the lights in your house, or maybe it locks all the doors, unlocks the doors. These might be unexpected gains that we didn't anticipate from getting the product. And so companies have to be careful about the number of gains they give, because it might be, it just might be too much for the customer to handle. But those extra surprises means the customer is more likely to refer the product to somebody else. So this is, now we're thinking about, from a company point of view, the box is from a company point of view, what are the pain relievers? So how are we going to do that? So I talked to students in our class about a product on an automobile called an anti-lock brake. And the anti-lock brake, you don't have this problem in Mexico, but we have this problem in Canada, and it's called ice and snow. And so, but the anti-lock brakes is when you put your brakes on in a car and it's wet and slippery or icy or snowy, your car will slide and the wheels get locked because of the brakes being pressed. So the anti-lock brakes vibrate on the wheel so many times you can't see it, and they unlock and lock the wheel very quickly in milliseconds, so that the wheel never gets locked up. You can steer, you can stop faster. So the pain that we think about, okay, so I want to be clear here, and the feature of the anti-lock brakes is it stops you faster and it avoids you can steer and turn and avoid collisions and things like that. That's a fact. That's what the thing does. So it's a feature. But if you were going to do a television commercial about the benefit of this, let me give you a sense of the television commercial. You have a car, maybe a mother or a father driving the car down the road. It might be dark, it might be wet, it might be whatever. An obstacle comes out. Maybe a deer or an animal runs out in the road maybe there's a bicycle on the road, maybe there's a truck. And the parent has to put on the brakes and is able, in the video, is able to steer past that object or stop in advance of the object. The next image that you see in that video, if it's a well-done commercial, is you'll see the camera turn to the back seat, and there'll probably be a small child sitting in a car seat, and the kid will be smiling. And so what benefit did we solve for that customer? It wasn't that the brakes stopped the car faster. What that benefit we provided was it saved my family's lives. And if you can articulate benefits that are meaningful to the customers, you will have an outstanding product. So now we have to articulate, we have to plan, how can we make those pain relievers so we focus on things that matter to the customer. So the next one I want to talk about is the gains. How can we talk about gains in a customer perspective? And this would be advertising and other things that we present to the customer that articulates things they can do with their phone, or perhaps with their new car, or with their computer, that makes sense for them. And then the product is going to be physical. I can touch it. It's going to be intangible. Intangible like a Google search. You know, you can't touch a Google search. It might be digital. It might be financial. And then we have to figure out the relevance. Is one more important than other, for example? So mistakes we make in doing our value proposition. We often make mistakes that we target the wrong person. The customer doesn't have the need, or all of the customers that we've targeted in one group segment that we've used don't have the same need. And if that's the case, then the products and services that we have described for the customer won't be valued by the customer. And back to that concept of value, the customer determines the value. The customer decides what jobs it wants our product to do. And if it doesn't like the jobs that our product does, it will fire our product. It will fire a product and find a new product. And so we need to provide those kind of things. So here's an example of a grocery store. So let's stop on the right side with the circles, and let's look at the customer jobs, which are the yellow squares, the Post-it notes, if you will. And so the customer has a job of managing their money, meal planning. They buy gifts, they buy food. So once we articulate all of those potential jobs, but maybe the customer has a job to buy wine, or the customer has a job to buy prepared food that's ready to make for the family. Or maybe the customer wants examples, in some grocery stores are providing cooking classes. Maybe the customer wants to learn how to cook. So these things might be customer jobs that could be solved. And then the pain that you might have in a grocery store is we have a long lineup. So now we have self-check items. We need help. And so how do we articulate help? We can't find an item. So how do we do that? We're unsure what's on sale. These are customer pains that we have. And the gains might be, during the pandemic, curbside pickup was important. And many of those companies have continued those services. Maybe we want rewards that give us some value for purchases. Maybe we want convenience in terms of store hours. I can go to your store at 12 o'clock at night. I can go to your store at 7 o'clock in the morning. Or want greater access to information or the items that are there, so I have a larger store format. Or maybe we have in there some quality items. We have a butcher shop in there that provides quality meats and stuff. So that's the customer. The customer articulates all that. If we look at the square on the left side, we can see that the pain relief are that the grocery store provides friendly service, which means I solve my finding items that I can't find knowing what's on sale, needing help. I have a self-checkout, which addresses the long lines. I have a price lookup, which helps me to know whether items are on sale. Then we look at gain creators. If I can use my phone as a mobile app, I can do my ordering from it. That's maybe something I didn't expect to do. The curbside pickup may have been a product that I didn't realize I could get, or that I could get my product delivered. And then how do we create this? So our products, if you will, that we offer in a store would be groceries, of course, big surprise. Might be discounts in the form of special sales or things like that to attract the customers. Maybe it's rewards or plans like that. Maybe it's an in-house tasting store. We see in Canada, I'm sure you see it otherwise, you see in places where you can buy liquor, there might be a place where you can sample all the different kinds of liquor. And so maybe you can sample different food types as an extra feature for that grocery store experience. Does that make sense to people so far? I'm going at a good pace for you then, I hope. Martina, I think I just have a few more minutes left. So
that's okay, we're doing
Airbnb is
fine.
maybe something you're at least have heard about. Sorry, Martina, I interrupted.
Yeah, it's okay. We're doing fine. We started a little bit late, so that's fine.
What do you want me to cut off at in terms of time?
No, please continue. We still have like 20 minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, I want to have some questions. So I'm just going to try to, I'm going to cut out a couple pieces here. Airbnb, you might be familiar with it. I'm not going to go through that product. Tesla, I think all of you understand that Tesla is a product. And you look at the on the right side, you can see that the jobs the customer has are in the blue. They want to have a different product. Remember, one of the needs that we had articulated was esteem, maybe a value. I've got a Tesla, you don't, therefore I feel better about myself. The occasional long distance trip means I have to have that might be a function I do. I drive to work, I drive to get groceries. I need a car to get mobile so I can meet friends. And if I have a car, maybe it gives the impression that I'm successful. My pains could be, what about the pricing of it, the lack of charging stations, the fear that I'll do something I won't have a battery to run, the need to frequently charge. Maybe I'm concerned about accidents and harming myself, but maybe I get a gain because the brand is well known. Tesla has high performance because of the batteries. You can go faster. I have a good quality range. I have good technology. It maybe seats the number of people I want in the car. So there's a fit with what I want to do as the pain relievers. So I've got to build a Tesla car that charges in 45 to 90 minutes. It has 5 to and maybe even as much as 7 seats if it's a bigger vehicle. There's an expanded charging network, and the gains are a large screen that I can operate with. The car might drive autonomously, and there might be some unique systems in the speed of the car. And then on the products, I would have a warranty. I'd have basic options that might be available, and I'd have different types of products that met different types of needs. So that's a Tesla example. I'm going to just show you. I'm going to show you the Amazon example quickly.
Now that we're being really sure of it, this was not an April Fool's prank. Amazon just showed us what the future of online business will look like with the Amazon dashboard. Let's try to dissect this concept of Amazon dashboard on the value proposition. As you know, the value proposition can be zoomed into the customer profile block and the value proposition block of the business model. So let's look at the customer profile first, and here we have the Amazon Prime customer. What job are they trying to accomplish? Well, the first job is to get their chores done, to make sure that the laundry is done, make sure the dishwasher is running, rooms are vacuumed. In other words, their home is taken care of. Their second job is really to focus on what matters for them. When they had time available, they were able to enjoy it with their friends, with their family, to do their own hobby, really not to waste their time on the stuff that they don't care about. The things which are all the negative outcomes or the negative emotions that our customers experience when they're trying to get a job done include things like wasting time on work or forgetting that you had to get essential products for your home. Another really severe thing that we experience is running out of important things at the wrong time. And I'm pretty sure this visual resonates with many of you. You're in the toilet and there's no more toilet paper. But you wake up and there's no more coffee. You needed to wear that really nice top tomorrow, but of course, you're running out of detergent. These are the kind of things that we experience and that are really frustrating. One of the gains or the positive outcome that we'd like to see as a result of fulfilling our jobs to be done is really just peace of mind, just as much convenience as possible. Okay, so now let's look at how we're going to try to fulfill our customers' jobs, how to treat address the strongest themes and gains of the Amazon dashboard. A quick reminder about the product. The Amazon dashboard is a physical button that's connected to our customer's Amazon account and that can send orders for home delivery. The theme reviewers and the game creators really try to articulate how the Amazon dashboard is providing value to customers by targeting their pain and their gain. One of the key things here is that thanks to Amazon Dash, will never run out of toilet paper anymore or any other essential. The game creator here is that Amazon enables customers to order their essentials in one click in a seamless process and to really use the time that is saved doing more meaningful stuff. So here I just showed you in a few minutes how Amazon's value proposition solves critical jobs, themes, and gains using the value proposition canvas. So now it's your turn. Thanks for watching.
Why we use Miro? Well, when I draw on a white.
Sorry, I'm going to bring back the presentation. So now you perhaps have heard of a business model, and Osterwalder and Pignier also have a tool that they call the business model canvas. We've in the University of Regina, we've been using this tool for about 10 years in our entrepreneurship classes, and it's a remarkable tool, and it's more comprehensive than other models. And if you go to the strategizer.com site, you can get free downloads of both the value proposition book and free downloads of the business canvas book. So, and not a complete book, of course, but enough to explain the exercise. And I encourage you to do that. Go to strategizer.com. And I don't get a commission from them, by the way, for saying this. So, but one of the ways that the value proposition, you can see that it's crudely drawn here, the square and the customer segment, they fit into the business model canvas. And I'm going to go through that as one of the latter things I'm going to do today. And so I'm not going to go through these slides, but I'm going to tell you what's here. There is a testing process that you can use on the value proposition, which takes a variety of steps, and there's a variety of tools that you can use through the Strategizer website to test whether you've done, what research do you have to do to find on the customer to make sure that you're meeting the value proposition that's required. And so there's a series of steps. And in the one of the tools that we use in our entrepreneurship classes is the what we call front-end market development, and it's using this tool as a way to plan ahead for the products. And so I won't go through these. I'm going to scan through these slides. These will be available to you afterwards. So business model. I'm just going to quickly go through this, introduce the business model canvas, and then I'll stop for questions. So business model is not a business plan. It's not a business concept or a business idea. And the business model describes how does your organization, and it can be a company, it can be a volunteer organization, a not-for-profit, it could be a government office, it could be a university, How does that organization create value? How does it deliver value? And how does it capture the value for their customer segment? And so the business model canvas answer to the question is, which customers? How do we differentiate the offerings? How do we get those resources aligned? How do we get to the market? How do we create utility, and how do we capture profits? And so the key questions that you answer with a business model is, how do we create the value? Whom do we create it for? What's our advantage? One of you used in the chat to start with the idea of a differentiator. If your product is not differentiated from somebody else, you won't be successful in the long term. How do we make money, of course, is a key part of a value proposition. And how do we meet our ambitions for growth? So good models are aligned with resources. And I'm going to quickly introduce the 9 building blocks that are part of the business model canvas. So customers, the value proposition, this is where that the square of the value proposition canvas comes in. The sales channels, the customer relationships, the customer segments is where the circle was up at number 1. The revenue streams, any resources we need, any key activities that are important to us, like manufacturing, for example, any partnerships we need, or cost structure that tells us whether we can make money or not. So the model is presented in a canvas like this, and it really means this. And there's the 9 blocks here with the questions that you would ask under each one. So if you look at the far right, customer segments, who is the target market? How big is the segment? You look at the value proposition, the central part, it should come up. What is the opportunity? What is the pain that we are solving? This is where your value proposition canvas comes in. Then if you go from the value proposition through the customer relationships to the customer, is the relationship personal? When you buy a product in an Apple store, Apple can configure that personal environment. When you buy an Apple product in a electronics store, Apple can't control that relationship they have with you. It's done through somebody else. The value proposition is delivered through a channel. Is it a retail store, bricks and mortar? Is it online? Is it wholesalers? Is it what other kind of options you might have? Then on the far left is what I use as an acronym, PAR, and it's basically partners, activities, and resources. So who's key to delivering this? If we are, do we need venture capital? Do we need a supplier that delivers us the product? Is our marketing and manufacturing the most important part of our business, research and development? Do we have a particular skill? Do we have patents? Do we have a brand name? Do we have things that are key resources to us? And what does it cost to make our products? And what are the possible revenue streams we have? That's a business model. And so each of these are described more fully as we go through them. And I'm not expecting you to read this as I glance through these. I'm just showing you what's here. And then I'm going to close with you on why do business models fail? And that is, we didn't understand the environmental trends. Many of you do e-scans and environmental scanning as part of your strategy work. That tells us, for example, political, economic, social, and technology is one of the tools that you can use. And it tells us what are the trends. What happens if I misread the competition's response? I don't understand how the competitor, maybe I don't understand the markets. Who's my customer? I didn't segment them properly. What happens if I didn't understand the customer need, and therefore what product I provide doesn't meet that need? Maybe I don't have the partnerships in place to deliver on my process. So if I don't have technical support, maybe that doesn't work, or maybe it's uneconomical. So this is an example of a book publisher. And this is the old style. This is a paper book. So when a book is produced and it's in paper copy, this is, these are the, it's broad content. You sell it through our retail store. You have a broad audience, and these are the ways it's done. When you publish an ebook, now you see that there's a self-publishing component in the value proposition. You can actually focus on very niche customers because you don't have to, your book in Amazon, for example, doesn't have to compete against a million other titles. And these are examples. Then Google itself has components of how it meets through things like free search, through monetization for the creators, and through targeted ads, delivers a value proposition to 3 different customer segments. And it has its key resources, the search platform, obviously the platform development, the IT that goes into that is important, has to keep the IT costs low, and it uses a free search model, but it has, you can buy certain search engine optimization tools you can use to pay for products, and advertisers will pay for products. Skype is less used now, but an example of the Skype platform. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to ask if there are any questions. Free to use the chat, or you can open your mics if you wish. And
there is a comment from Daniela Alvarez. In the chat, there is a comment. Daniela Baltasar.
Yeah, I think that's, Daniela, that's essential. I mean, so what we talked about is the company has to, first, a part of the equation, the company has to understand what is the value the customer wants. The second is the customer has to put together only the features and the other elements that are going to meet that need and perhaps get them some gains. And so where it doesn't work is when the customer, when the product and services matches don't match that, or maybe they don't deliver. Maybe you bought a product that you thought was a good quality and it breaks in the first week that you use it. That product has not delivered the value that you indicated, and you will fire that product. You'll return that product, or you'll make sure that you tell all of your friends never to buy the same product. And so that's where the value doesn't deliver. Does that answer, Danielle, does that help with the comment there? Was that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Bruce. Yeah.
You're most welcome. Other comments, questions? You can use your microphone or you can use the chat. I'm open to either. So I want to remind you, just as a bit of a sort of a closing, value is what the consumer sets. And if you think about, instead of thinking about how do I design a product, think about it from the customer's point of view. What job are you going to provide to the customer that relieves pain and provides gains? And how can you package, like Daniela's point there, how do you package that in a way that you can make money doing that? That the cost of all that system, that value chain that you produce, and all the cost of the inputs and all those kind of things can be done at a lower cost than you charge the customer. If you can do that, you'll be making money.
Si alguno de los asistentes quiere poner la pregunta en español, con gusto la traducimos.
So last thing, and I'm really highly appreciative of having the MBA class and the class that my students are working with. Great to see you again. If you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, welcome to do it. If you want to send me an email to ask a question, welcome to that kind of thing as well. And with that, I'd say thank you very much, muchas gracias, for your time, your interest, and I hope it was productive for you.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Let me make sure. There's a question from Hector Luna.
Hector, I would say that it's important for the customer to adapt its value proposition. When change is a big word, and I would be concerned that if you constantly change your value proposition, your customer will never completely understand your value proposition. But I think you need to adapt it for a customer, and you need to modify it. So, for example, if you found a use for the product that that customers are using the product in a way that you didn't anticipate, then you should evaluate and look at your value proposition and perhaps consider more formalizing that product or offering to the customer. So you should adapt your value proposition. Changing it dramatically, continuously would be problematic. And I'll leave Dante, I'll leave the question to Professor Martin to answer, but I have sent a copy of the slides to him. And
Yes, the recording of the session is going to be provided to the Master of Administration, so they can have it in the specific web page. But also, everybody has my email, so I keep in contact if you want to have access to the recording.
Again, I'm going to say one last sort of thank you and sort of say I appreciate your willingness to have this topic delivered to you in English, which is not your first language, and I appreciate that. But it is obvious that you speak English better than I speak Spanish, so it would have been very painful for me to do this in Spanish. So I appreciate your ability to do that, and best wishes and good luck with the rest of your day.
Well, let's say thank you to, I'm going to share the screen.
I'm going to stop sharing, yeah.
Please, thank you. And on behalf of the University of Guanajuato, we want to thank Professor Bruce Anderson for lecturing today and sharing this very interesting topic and very actual topic. So we will deliver this electronic certificate of appreciation, we say in Spanish, constancia, and to the email address. And we want to thank you for that. So we can give him a big applause. You can open your microphones. You can applause with the electronic hands. Thank you very much for today's presentation. Thank you very much, Professor Anderson. And remember, everybody, that the link for registering at this conference is already in the chat. And if you want to have access to the presentation today, Professor Anderson is delivering it to me, and I will be happy to make sure that you get it through the email. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and we will see you very soon. University of Regina is going to lecture for us in November, and we will let you know in advance with Professor Wallace Lockhart. Thank you very much, Professor Anderson, and have a good day.
Gracias, amigo.